Hello to my truth and freedom-seeking friends. I'm Payman Motahade, president of Freedom Law School. Tonight, I'm going to cover with you part 3 of the former gun-carrying special agent with the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS, Joseph Banister, who defected from the dark side of the IRS and the deep state, the DOJ, to the side of we the people, the American people, you and I, and freedom for you and the American people. So with that, I'm going to bring Joe on and say, hello, Joe. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, Payman. Thanks for having me back again.
You're welcome, my friend. So we covered a lot about, you in the first 2 parts. Folks, if you're not seeing the first 2 parts, watch those, okay? The first part basically covered Joe how he came to come across the tax truth freedom movement up to resignation. And then part 2 covers basically from that point forward until now when, he was trying to get the government to answer questions for Joe. Confront them. Look, you got to tell American people the truth. Let's come and talk about this in a civil, calm manner like we're supposed to do, not violence. And then part 3 now, the government tries to silence Joe. And so, Joe, you want to tell us how they tried to silence you back in 2004?
Sure.
I had the charts
as
up.
people would have learned in the earlier parts, I worked for the IRS for almost 5.5 years and expected to spend a full 20-year career with the IRS. But it was cut short because I began to investigate the actual authority and boundaries of the income tax system, prompted by first listening to a radio talk show out in the San Francisco Bay Area. So at the point of really having to fish or cut bait, I presented my IRS supervisors with my concerns. I pointed out that I had taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Pointed out, of course, that all of us, including my IRS supervisors, had taken the same oath. We were governed by the same Treasury rules of conduct, and we really had a duty to, get to the bottom of these claims about the federal income tax, whether or not the average American was required to pay it. So, as has been discussed with you in previous editions, I was rebuffed. I didn't care about my concerns or anything, didn't want to answer any of my questions. And so I resigned in February of 1999. And so from during 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, I continued to, whenever I was asked to be interviewed, whether it be a mainstream media news organ or, alternative, whatever it might be, I would accept the invitation. And there was media attention in the mainstream that, people have probably heard of, such as the New York Times, CNBC, which is where Maria Bartiromo was at the time, MSNBC, and, various news organs. And so I imagine that this, my activity of trying to tell my story caught the attention of the IRS and the DOJ, and they weren't happy with me telling my story. So apparently they were looking for any way to, discredit me. Actually, one of the reasons that I left the IRS was to avoid the discrediting type conduct that typically the government engages in. So, the more that they can discredit someone, the less that people might believe them. So anyway, the IRS and the DOJ were clearly on that hunt. So I learned in 2001, about 2 years after I left the IRS, that I was under criminal investigation. So basically the same agents that I used to work for and with were investigating me now as a private citizen, an ex-IRS employee. And I thought to myself, having done the job for 5 years, this must be a scare tactic. I have not done anything criminal. This is crazy. What could they possibly create for me to have done, because I didn't, I knew that I hadn't engaged in any criminal conduct. So in November of 2004, I was indicted on 4 felonies. And I learned about it because the IRS special agents, a couple of them, came to arrest me. I was actually living in San Jose, California at the time. Of course, that was the city that I was born and raised in. And I was in the morning, and my wife had already left with the 2 kids to take them to elementary school. And I hear some knocking at the door, and so I look out the window, and I see a San Jose, California police car. And I thought to myself, well, maybe my brother Jeff is coming to visit me, because he sometimes would do that. And then I looked a little more into the window and saw a second San Jose police car, and I thought to myself, well, my brother Jeff never brings any friends with him. And about that same time, I heard the front door of the house open, and someone began calling out my name and basically telling me that they had a warrant for my arrest. So I basically gave up, peacefully. I showed my hands. What was funny is that, I was on the firearms and defensive tactics team when I worked at the IRS. And so often I'd be treated as the citizen, the taxpayer, whatever you want to call it, the target of the investigation, because in my cubicle, it was pretty well known in my IRS office that I was the Constitution guy. So even though, I worked every day as an IRS special agent from 93 through 99, I had bumper stickers in my cubicle that were, pro-Constitution, pro-Second Amendment, anti-tyranny. And so, it was kind of my reputation in the office. So when it came time where I was actually arrested myself, I just kind of had the mindset of another training exercise and, gave up peacefully and, was quite surprised, of course, that I was being arrested because, as I said, I knew I was under criminal investigation, but I couldn't imagine what the government could come up with. But I was soon to find out. So I was taken from San Jose, California to Sacramento, California to the U.S. Marshal's office, basically to be booked, to be photographed, fingerprints taken, and the typical booking that happens from the feds when you're arrested. And then I learned what the charges were against me. That I was charged with 4 felonies. One of the felonies was conspiracy to defraud the United States of America. And then I was also charged with having prepared 3 false federal income tax returns. So, typically when you've been arrested, one of the things you'd like to do is make bail. And also typically, the prosecutor may not want you to make bail and make things more difficult for you. And that was the case in my situation. The prosecutor wanted me to remain in custody, and I obviously wanted to get out of custody. And so I ended up being in the U.S. Marshal's lockup for maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe not including the travel from San Jose to Sacramento, about 2 hours each way. And I was booked, photographed, and then placed into a cell. And then within, a couple hours, I was given a hearing. And that was basically a custody hearing. Will they keep me or not? Interestingly, the U.S. Marshals had told me, we're not sure if you're going to be staying with us or not, but if you stay with us, we're going to be putting you in the Sacramento County Jail. And then you have basically 2 choices. We can put you in the general population, or we can put you with the sexual predators. So I wasn't really thrilled with either of those choices, but I went ahead and Well, I told them, I guess put me with the sexual predators. Maybe I have a better chance of surviving than the general population. But thankfully, I didn't have to, go down that road because I was released on a recognizance bond where I just simply signed a promise to appear in court and pay, I think it was $25,000 or $30,000 if I didn't show up in court. And I was released. So that was in November of 2004, approximately 5 years after I'd left the IRS. And interestingly, I had already not filed a federal income tax return in 1999, 2000, 01, 02, 03, and 04. Yet when I was indicted in 2004, I was charged with this, alleged conduct that I allegedly engaged with a client, but not my personal circumstances relating to, having not filed a tax return. So, of course, when you've been accused of such things, you, I guess, can just give in or you can defend yourself. And of course, this was all new to me because I never thought in a million years that the IRS would actually follow through with this. But, we all know, or you and I are very well familiar with how the IRS really, has a need to discredit those that would expose what they're really up to. And so that was obviously their main goal. So I had about 7 months to prepare for my ultimate trial, which occurred in June of 2005. And interestingly, when the trial was about to begin, the Department of Justice filed a motion to get rid of one half of my defense team. My two attorneys were Jeffrey Dickstein and Robert Bernhoft, and the Department of Justice filed a motion with the court to have Robert Bernhoft removed from my defense team. And the DOJ claimed that that was for my own benefit, if you couldn't believe it. So thankfully, we opposed that motion, and it was denied. And I was able to keep the defense team that I had chosen, to represent me. This situation very well.
So let me ask you about this before. So the government claimed that they want the court to remove your lawyer to defend you because he's not a good lawyer and could end up hurting you. That's the excuse to get rid of him. That's what they said, basically.
Yes.
I mean, that just sounds crazy on its face. That, you choose a lawyer that you like, and they say, oh, no, he's not a good lawyer. Give him another guy, How about Jeff Dickstein? What was their excuse to want to get rid of Jeffrey Dickstein from representing you, Joe?
Actually, they only tried to get Bernhoft off.
I see.
They didn't try to get Dickstein off.
And Robert Barnes was also part of the team that worked in helping in your case? Attorney Warren Barnes.
He was working at the firm at the time. I don't really recall. I don't think he ever appeared in court that I recall.
But behind the scenes, I understand he wrote something, did some legal work for you guys through Robert Barnes, right? The constitutional lawyer. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Please continue, huh?
So I had this 7-month period to prepare. Of course, I would typically over-prepare for exams. I might tend to cram for my exams in college and high school, but I would certainly, over-prepare just in case. And, I wouldn't wish this kind of a battle on anyone because, I saw myself to be, absolutely innocent of these charges, and maybe I'll explain a little bit more. So the government, the DOJ, charged me with conspiracy in that the government claimed that I conspired with one of my clients, Al Thompson, to defraud the United States. And then the government also charged me with having prepared for Al Thompson as a CPA 3 false federal income tax returns. Now, the background is that Al Thompson had approached me and said, Joe, I determined that this income tax is a scam, and I've been filing and paying, for decades. And I'd like to get some of my money back, as much as I can possibly get back. And I'd like you as a CPA to help me follow the rules in order to try to get my money back. And so, pretty naively, I thought to myself, well, what could be wrong with a CPA helping his client to follow the IRS rules and seek a refund? I mean, people do it all the time. So the first step in filing a refund claim is to file an amended tax return. Now, there may be other ways to file refund claims, but in terms of the circumstances I'm describing, the first step was to actually prepare an amended tax return. So to amend or revise the information that Al Thompson put on his original tax returns when he originally filed them. And so, that's the first step. So we followed that step. And in the tax returns, I was very careful to put only truthful and relevant information, including regulations, federal tax regulations, federal tax statutes, court cases, anything that might be relevant to the request for a refund. And I naively thought that, well, the purpose is for us to request a refund, and then the IRS can simply say, no, we're not going to give you the refund. And then there's an appeals process that you follow to iron out whether or not the client deserves the money or not. And so that's the way it's supposed to work. But the IRS and the DOJ turned those 3 tax returns that I prepared into what they called false refund claims, that I basically defrauded the government with the client by preparing these false tax returns, they claimed, as a CPA. So those were the 3 charges of the 4, me as a CPA preparing 3 tax returns. And then the 4th charge was an overriding conspiracy that I conspired with the client to defraud the United States of America. So those were the charges that I faced in June of 2005. And it was in Sacramento, California. And I had a jury trial. You can request a bench trial or a jury trial. And I requested a jury trial. I was a bit concerned because the case was handled in Sacramento, California, which for people outside of California may not know, but that's the capital of California. And so it's a beehive full of government workers. And, typically government workers aren't very, shall we say, open-minded to hear that the, taxation there might be a problem with it, and they might have kind of a one-track mind. And anyway, there was some concern there. And some of the jurors ended up being government workers. And actually those jurors ended up being the strongest, having the most open minds, and ended up being my strongest advocates. So you really can't judge a book by its cover, is one of the lessons that I learned. Anyway, the trial lasted a little over a week, and as you know, because you went to every day of the trial, you observed the trial, you took notes, you were very, very much keeping an eye on things. Of course, I was busy defending myself, and so I was very grateful to you and others who, took a great deal of time out of your own lives to stand there with me and make sure that, the government dirty tricks were exposed. So I'm really grateful for that.
Well, you're welcome. In fact, we try to actually do some fundraising for you. Unfortunately, we had students, the Freedom Law School supporters, people that came to our freedom rallies, that when we called that said, hey, Joe's under attack by the criminals in the U.S. government, let's help him out. And we were able to raise some funds to do that, because these lawsuits, these kind of cases are expensive. Attorney work is not cheap. You spend a lot of your money defending yourself, and we were able to raise some funds. Other people do too. So that's what the way they try to do, is try to break you, and financial as well as silence you. So But anyhow, continue, please, Joe.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking more of the in person being there, which was very consoling and helpful. But indeed, you put out the word, and people came through. And we're talking about 2005 value of a dollar of a Federal Reserve note, and it cost over $200,000 to defend myself, and I didn't have to pay any of my own money, but I did have to take basically 7 months of my life and devote it towards defending myself as opposed to working and providing for my family. So your fundraising efforts on my behalf were also I'm very grateful for that as well.
And Bob Schultz did a lot too of We the People Foundation, and he was very much involved in supporting you, raising funds as well for you.
Yes, and significant portions were due to you and Bob, so eternally grateful for that. Anyway, the trial lasted for a little over a week. Some of the highlights, I guess we could say. Now, as I described, the government claimed that I prepared as a CPA 3 false federal income tax returns, and so my defense attorneys cross-examined the government's experts. The government put on an expert, a person that claimed to be an expert, basically a 25 to 30-year veteran IRS auditor, got up on the witness stand for the prosecution, and his job was to show how horribly fraudulent these tax returns were that I prepared. And so people know enough about trials. The government puts on their witness on direct examination, and then the defense, my side, gets to cross-examine the government witness. So the government witness is there to tell the jury how horribly fraudulent these tax returns were. And my side was very confident that, in fact, there was not a single, period, comma, sentence, paragraph, or page that was false or fraudulent about the tax return. And so Jeffrey Dickstein walked or, basically took the IRS agent through the pages of the copies of the tax returns that the government claimed were fraudulent, and would say, like, well, let's look at paragraph 6, let's look at page 7, let's look at this sentence here, let's look at this box and this line item, and basically walked the IRS expert through the entire tax return and all 3 of those tax returns, and asked the expert to point out any false or fraudulent entries. And the IRS expert could not point to a single false or fraudulent entry. So, of course, the jury, as I later learned, is, scratching their head like, well, wait a second, you've alleged that the CPA prepared these tax returns falsely and fraudulently, and yet your expert can't point out a single example? What are we doing here? And then the 4th charge, being a conspiracy charge, the IRS special agent, Sean Breslin, who criminally investigated me, was put up on the witness stand. I actually I worked with Sean when I worked for the IRS. We were friends, and everything was great. And then he ended up being the special agent that investigated me. And he was put up on the witness stand, and of course, for the government, and his job was to point out the evidence of a conspiracy. But the problem for the government was that he could not testify to any evidence of a conspiracy. And on cross-examination, my attorneys directly asked him about any evidence that he encountered during his investigation of a conspiracy. And he couldn't testify to any evidence of a conspiracy. So again, I learned later from the jury, who I spoke to, wait a second, we're here because you say that this Banister guy, conspired with a client to defraud the United States. but you can't show us any evidence of fraud, and you can't show us any evidence of conspiracy. So what are we doing here? So the jury, there was actually a videotape that became a pivotal part of the case. Al Thompson, my client, had, when the IRS agents came to talk to him, as is, typical in a criminal investigation, he gave a videotape of a speech that I had given to all of his workers at his business. And this videotape was, I forget, it was like 90 minutes or 100, a couple hours long. And it was me giving, a sincere explanation to Al Thompson's workers about my investigation of the federal income tax. And that tape ended up being what the government tried to claim was like the smoking gun. Here we have Banister, caught in the act on this videotape. And actually, the jury had the exact opposite reaction to the tape. Mm-hmm. The jury, as I, again, found out later when talking to the jurors, that they were actually viewing the videotape as evidence of my sincerity, as evidence of my diligence in determining what the truth was about the federal income tax. So that, Exhibit A, so to speak, that the government had kind of blew up in their face. So when the jury went out to deliberate, they deliberated for quite a long time. And typically, when the jury comes back quickly, that can typically mean there might be a guilty verdict that's coming. But the jury did not come back quickly. And when they finally came back with a verdict, the verdict was not guilty on all 4 charges. And of course, I've always maintained those were deserved acquittals because, as I described, the entire trial, the charges themselves were outrageous. They had, what is the government doing when they bring charges that they can't prove in a court of law? They have every opportunity with the investigation lasted for like 3 years before I was indicted in 2004. And after 3 years of peering into my life, they couldn't find any evidence of wrongdoing, yet they indicted me anyway. So, it was absolutely a deserved acquittal. And the jurors, a couple of them actually were willing to appear on camera. And so we interviewed the jurors after the trial. And you could even see you and me, or, at least you in the video, no white hairs at all, just like me, didn't have any white hairs at the time.
Right.
Just with our jaws feeling like they're dropping, right, as the jurors explain how ridiculous the government's case against me was. And so, and actually those 2 jurors both worked for the federal and state governments. The gentleman with the beard he used to work for the Department of Energy. And he told how, I don't think he told on tape, but he told me that he had looked at regulations for the Department of Energy, just like I looked at and included Department of Treasury regulations in the tax returns that I prepared. So that particular juror thought it was quite expected and appropriate for me to reference federal regulations in the tax returns that I prepared. And then the other juror that didn't have a beard, Oscar, he was formerly, I believe he was the president of a community college in the South San Francisco Bay Area called De Anza College. And he was, I believe he was also a member of the ACLU.
Wow.
And so, someone could think, gosh, somebody like that is going to convict me in a heartbeat, and they're not going to listen, to the defense's evidence. But it couldn't have been farther from the truth. Oscar said, look, I could tell that you believe in what you're doing and you believe and you were sincere and you did your homework. And so, that's why I voted to acquit you. And I actually kept in touch with Oscar for many years after my 2005 trial. Very, very nice man. I think probably even if he had convicted me, I could still consider him a nice man. They took their jury duty seriously, and that's really, I have to commend them for doing that, regardless of the verdict that they rendered.
Yeah.
So after I was acquitted and we interviewed the jurors, I came back to the hotel, and the hotel had a bill for all of the time that we spent there, I think nearly a week, and the whole defense team and, all the meals and everything had to be just put to my room. And the bill ended up being, and again, this is in 2005 dollars, about $30,000. And I didn't have $30,000 to pay the hotel bill. And I don't recall, maybe you can fill in the blanks, Paymon, of how you learned that I had a $30,000 bill, but you paid it. Mm-hmm. And, I was on cloud nine, having been deservedly acquitted of these ridiculous charges, but it was certainly a difficult pill to swallow to get back to the hotel and think, okay, well, I know my wife and family and everyone's really happy that I was acquitted, but we're going to cough up 30 grand to pay this hotel bill. But you came through and paid it and gave us a huge sigh of relief.
Well, that was really not my money. That was the money of our students. They joined our Royal Freedom Package, which was the forerunner of our Restore Freedom Plan, that we come as Americans together to restore freedom in America like the America's founding fathers came together, but we do it non-violently, and so we contribute to that. We put not our lives on the line, but just a little bit of our fortune that we would have otherwise given to the IRS anyways. We put a little bit of that toward in this Restore Freedom Plan, and so it was meant to be for our students in case they get criminally charged that were part of the program. Well, you were never officially part of the program per se, but you always were very helpful to Freedom Law School and to get the word out there. So I thought, well, look, I can, it's only fair to help you back. Would you help us grow by speaking the truth and toward helping you? So I was glad to do that, Joe. That was something that I was very happy to do because, at the movement, one thing there's not enough of sometimes is people working together. Too often people want to go this direction or that direction and don't look for ways how they could work together rather than being separate, working together. So you've always been a team player. In fact, I can tell everybody that I used to have annual Freedom Leadership Conferences from 1999 forward, where I would bring all the top leaders of the freedom movements out there together annually to get together and talk and learn and strategize together, despite whatever differences we might have, like the founding fathers had differences with each other. Even though they had that, they came together. So the first one, I think, was like you, Irvin Schiff, Steve Hempfling, Sean O'Connor, Dave Wellington, Bill Conklin. We had, some of the names I don't remember now. We had Larry B. Kraft, Attorney Larry B. Kraft, and Tom Cryer, and be there sometimes. Peter Gibbons was there at different times. So, you're very helpful in that, getting us going. Well, Joe, let me end this by this. Let's end any part of your situation. After that, have you filed any tax returns, 10 for income tax confession forms with the IRS since? And what has been the response to the IRS to you filing or not filing?
Well, 1998 was the last federal, Form 1040 that I filed, last federal tax return. And I didn't, as I mentioned, I hadn't filed up until the time I was indicted in 2004. And then 2004 through 2010 did not file. And it's not about civil disobedience. It's, I literally, former CPA, IRS trained. I used all of my abilities to determine do I have a filing requirement in the Internal Revenue Code?
You mean you actually use the Bible of the IRS, the Internal Revenue Code, the laws, the U.S. Constitution, to follow to the T as best as you can, and you found no law requiring you to file a 1040 based upon the federal tax law. So you haven't filed a tax return since that time?
Right. And, as I said in previous episodes, I obviously bent over backwards while I was an IRS special agent and afterwards to try to get answers. And I've had nothing but sincerity, for the last 26 years, and the track record of the IRS and DOJ is the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I put up my reputation against the IRS as any day of the week. But indeed, in 2010, so after I had already been out of the IRS for 11 years, the IRS started a second criminal investigation against me.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the first criminal investigation that led to that trial, the second one actually focused on the fact that by that time, it had been approximately 10 or 11 years that I had not filed a tax return. And I did a FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act request, and received a response. And the response showed me that in and around 2010, I was actually put under second criminal investigation. And then after, I believe it was around 7 months, that investigation was terminated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very, very much unusual, very unprecedented, because the FOIA response indicated that investigation was called a subject criminal investigation, or SCI is the acronym. And when the IRS starts an SCI, subject criminal investigation, the intention is to take that to prosecution. So for an SCI to be terminated is, quite unusual. And that's what happened in that second criminal investigation again, targeting me. It was terminated, yet, as the documents show, hundreds of hours were invested in that second criminal investigation, and yet it was terminated. So that was 2010, 2011, and then here we are in 2026, and not one of those years since 1998, have I filed a federal tax return.
And Joe, I believe one reason they don't do that is because they know you will be able to go to the jury if they do charge you for not having filed 10 for income tax confession forms, and tell them your story, show them your book, Investigating the Federal Income Tax. Okay? It's not a page report. You get to show them your letter to IRS Commissioner Rosati to why you want to investigate the fraud of the IRS that you found out. And the response that they gave you that, just take a hike, we're not going to respond to you. And your response back resignation letter, and your continual attempts to have a civil debate with the government about all this, and they ignore you. I think the jury, would see that. They know they would see that because you have a right to talk about why you stopped filing 10 for income tax slavery confession forms. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to give the person the opportunity to show the law something real and reasonable why you stopped filing 10 for income tax confession slavery forms. So the petitions that we do at Freedom Law School, folks, are basically, they serve two functions. One, they, like Joe did, you try to bring about positive change in the government, changing behavior, following the law. Joe did that with the IRS. What are you going to do with the Congress? Congress is the one that has the power, over the IRS anyways. And at the same time, it shows your good intent to try to get clarity on whether you're wrong or right about you not having to file and pay federal income tax. And having done that, have a record of that, it's something that the jury will have to acquit you because your good intent is clearly shown and they have to vote not guilty. That's why I believe Joe never came after you. So Joe, by the way, we're going to add the videos of the jurors to this presentation that you mentioned, Joe. We're going to put that on there. the document in post-production. We'll also have the, you referred to all the investigation, documentation report, indictment, all that stuff, and acquittal forms. We'll put them in this presentation later on. But someone online asked you a question for you that, did you ever sue the IRS for false allegations?
No. It would be nice if it was, an easy battle to do so. But, number one, in my case, I think the government tried to keep me always on the defensive. And, of course, it cost me time, and, of course, the donations were what paid for it. But, basically the government wasn't able to go on the offense, shall we say. And the provisions, the laws that are supposed to protect you are very difficult to actually utilize and deploy. So
right.
I looked at the possibility of doing that, but it just wasn't realistic.
Right. Basically, to answer the caller's question, you could not do that. If the government charges you with a crime and the jury happens to say not guilty, that is not sufficient legal basis for you to go sue the government for breaking, charges against you. Because if they do allow that, then every defendant who gets acquitted gets to sue the government. So if that's the case, the prosecutors would not bring charges, because if you're acquitted, they're going to get sued themselves. So that's why the principle of the law is, if the jury acquits you, does not mean that you get to sue the government for that. Well, Joel, thank you very much for being with us, my friend. Really appreciate you being out there. And by the way, we're going to add on here at the end a little clip of Joe being interviewed by Marjorie Taylor Greene, former congresswoman from Georgia. Okay, that happened in April of 2026. You guys want to watch that video? Of course, Joe, we forgot to give you a website. We should give it every time. Can you give me your website? Because that interview and other interviews of you and information you got on your wonderful website, I encourage everybody to go check it out. How they can find out more about you, your website, and your information, Joe?
Thank you. agentfortruth.com and agentfortruth.info would be the websites.
Okay. They go same location, agentfortruth.com and agentfortruth.info. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, Joe, thank you very much for being with me. I really appreciate that. Folks, we're going to say goodbye to Joe, and I'm going to get to your questions. We have a lot of people waiting to get their questions answered right now. So let's see. I'm going to call right now the people who are calling with their area code that you're at, and then I'm going to get your questions one at a time. There's two callers from area code 916. One of them is a prefix of 778. The other one with prefix of 743. Then we have another call from area code 201. Another one from area code 978. Another one from area code 808. And another call we have from area code 304. So, folks, please announce yourself, first name only. How you heard about Freedom Law School. Get you to your question quickly so I can get to everyone's questions tonight before they fall asleep. So, area code 916778 prefix caller, please give me your first name, how you heard about us, and then your question, please.
Hi, my name is Lauren, and I heard about you through my friend's parents who have, I believe, gone through your program. And my question, I'll try to make it very quick, but we're in a little bit of a pickle. We recently learned that we did what you're not supposed to do, and we filed a revocation of election for my husband at the end of 2024. And then we were also advised through an individual that we were working with that we should file amended 15103s to avoid the failure to file penalty. And then recently, about 2 weeks ago, we received a letter from the IRS basically saying that our case or return is getting transferred to the Ogden Frivolous Case Department for review, and that they'll get back to us in 60 days. So my question, now knowing that we seem to have approached it incorrectly, is what would be the path forward in correcting it, and what kind of, next steps? What's the consequence for doing it the way that we did it?
Well, my assistant's going to help me bring up Form 1503 you mentioned, so look it up. I don't know what Form 15103 is, so I'm going to look it up right now.
Form 15103. So it's a 1040 return delinquency, 15103.
Okay, that all makes a difference. A couple of numbers off makes the okay. That form that you mentioned, I have it on screen. This doesn't mean anything. While the IRS sends that to you, you can just ignore it. You don't have to fill it out at all. So I would ignore that. Period. Okay, and then you did a revocation of election, which is incorrect. You never elected to be a tax slave of the IRS to now revoke it. That's a false assumption. And that based upon that false assumption, you took an action. So it doesn't matter. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. Follow the law at freedomlawschool.org, our website. Just, and start from the get-go correctly. It's all based upon U.S. government's official legal websites, why 99% of Americans are not required to file and pay federal income or payroll taxes. Click on the Start the 7 Easy Steps to Regain Your Power and Freedom gold button there, and start right there. Follow the law properly, and you'll be just fine. All right? And you can join the Restore Freedom Plan or do it on your own. You have on your own, you can be, it's free, costs you nothing. The guarantee would mean that you want to give 30% of your savings, whatever you save, you don't pay the IRS, you contribute to the Restore Freedom Plan. You have to keep the other 70% with a guarantee of safety. We do all the work for you and guarantee that if you ever lose, we reimburse you whatever the IRS takes from you out of our funds. Everything done for you. But you can do it for free if you want as well. Any other questions before I go to the next call, Lauren?
Okay, so if I'm understanding you, there's nothing necessarily I need to do to backtrack what we've done. It's just doing the correct steps moving forward.
That's right. See, just what I covered last week, you want to watch the last Freedom Hour that I did, and one of the things I covered in there, okay, is the progression of the letters that the IRS sends out. It's a very important thing. People need to understand this thing. Where's that, guys? Other educational, right? The progression letters the IRS sends out, okay? IRS sends out a lot of scare letters to get you to become a slave on your own, file obtaining for your confession forms. You don't have to answer them. Go into FAQ, frequently asked questions, okay? Click on that. With the charts. Here, the chart. So then you go, well, I got to tell them about that. Let me go back step by step for them, please. Then you go back to, from the chart to FAQ number 3. Am I getting letters from the IRS that I have no idea what they mean or how to react? Can you help me figure this out? This is the number 3 most frequently asked questions that we have. That's why I've done a video on this very topic. I did, in fact, last week, 42 minutes. Right? Correct? So check it out. That you don't have to respond. What you got is just simple phishing letters. Educate yourself about the law and your rights at freedomlawschool.org and live free. All right? But Lord, I didn't hear who told you about us. How you heard about us, you said? From who?
So my friend's parents have gone through your program, and they recommended you to me after we told them that we did the revocation of election, and they said we should look into your resources, and that was probably not the correct way to go about it.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for calling, Lauren. I appreciate you. Let's go to the next caller we have right now from area code 916-743 prefix. I need his, that on the screen is not coming up. Oh, here we go. Could you put here also, please? All right, he left. Okay, that caller left. We're going to go to call from area code 201, area code 364-6717. Caller, please give me your first name. How you heard about Freedom Law School, and then your question, please.
Can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. This is MJ calling. Thank you. In doing some research online to help with some of my questions, it's when I came across the Freedom Law School website, and that's how I'm here. I did send in documents for your review.
Well, MJ, I have a document from Sherry in North Carolina. Is that you?
Correct.
Okay, Sherry,
Correct.
no problem.
Yes, I go by MJ, so I'm sorry if that was confusing.
No, that's okay. I figured that you must be the only one here. Let's you send me several pages of documents. I'll go over them for everybody, what they are. Okay, so you're getting bunch of fishing letters, folks. IRS is desperate to get you guys to not to get out of the reservation as slaves. They don't want the sheeple to get out. They want to scare you into filling out these 10 for income tax confession forms. They don't want to come after you with a notice of deficiency, as you see here in the top center of the official tax proposal letter, okay? They don't want to do that. Why? Can you make this bigger? Because if they do that, they cannot get your case. They have only about 19 full-time tax court judges. That's right. So because of that, they don't come after you officially with a tax proposal to give you the chance to take up the judge's time in a full-blown trial. Okay? Here, as you see on the screen, the notice of deficiency, they do not want to do that. So here's what they send you here. I got you here several letters here. The first one is March 23rd. It says, you need to file your 2024 tax return, right? Oh, and of course you see this vulture of the IRS's picture and the address on the top, right? See, oh my gosh, IRS is after me. Oh, what do I do? Get an accountant. Get a bookkeeper. Go H&R Block, TurboTax. Help me, right? Trash. So then IRS follows up and sends you on May 11th for 2024 another letter called, you must file your 2024 tax return. Are you scared? This is the second letter. We give you a warning. You must do it, otherwise you may be in trouble, big trouble. Be scared, right? Junk. Then IRS says, by the way, this is the first one comes from IRS's Austin, Texas office. Second from IRS's Fresno, California office. They're just going all out. Every major office they got Fresno, Austin are two of the major cities they got with big computers. Crank out those junk mail. Send them out to hundreds of thousands of Americans. Millions of them to be. Don't get out of a slavery plantation, folks. So then we get, oh, look at this one, okay? They send you a letter from IRS's Kansas City office on May 25th, 2006. They say there is a $1,250 credit. There's a credit on your account. Don't you want that money? Hey, the way you get that money, it's a file, a 10 for income tax slavery confession form. See? We use some vinegar, some honey to get your file, a 10 for income tax confession form. But then there's more. June 2nd, about a week later, IRS's Austin, Texas, sends you another letter. This one says, you need to file your 2023 10 for income tax form. Okay. See, IRS is working now backwards. They said, oh my gosh, she not only did not file a slavery 1040 form for 2024, 2023, oh, let's get on that too. I mean, come on. Are you scared? How many more letters they need to send you for you to realize this is all junk? It's just junk mail. There is nobody at the IRS. A David, a Charlie, a Hassan, okay, or John, watching you and say, if you don't file after this letter went out to you, I'm going to come after you and get you, buddy. Penalty interest. These letters are not even, have no name on them. Not even a pretend phony computer signature. None of them. Just form letters. Just like junk mail you get in the mail about the last sales on groceries or some online thing you get in the mail, right? You know, stuff like that. That's what it is. Now you get another letter, Sherry. This is different. This one says, urgent notice, you still owe a balance due for tax year 2021 of $81,000. That's a different thing. Did you file for your 2021 a 1040 income tax slavery confession form? Hello?
I think so, because I had sold my house that year, and that was before I moved.
Yep, that's right. Sorry. Because your bookkeeper, accountant, CPA, tax attorney, corrupt major media, even your preacher at church told you, you better file those tax confession slavery for, pay your fair share, otherwise we have no money for the national parks. We have no money for the roads. You know, we have no money for the military. That's a bunch of baloney. We did just fine in late 1700s. Those 13 colonies became states, countries, came to a union. And we did not have until 1913, over 100 years, without any income tax except for a few years due to the war of the states between North and the South. We're just fine. Over 100 years went by, and America became the most richest, most powerful nation on earth ever without an income tax. And since then, 1913, we had income tax. Guess what? America is now starting to go down, unfortunately. So, no more slavery. No more slavery for you guys. So you're free. All right? Anything else besides that, MJ? You good?
So this, if I understand you correctly, this letter dated June 29th, that's the CP 71C, I do not have to respond to that either.
That's right, because they have to send you what you see on this chart and this screen I have on the top right. You see a pink one. They have to send you a final notice of intent to levy and notice of your right to hearing. They have to send that letter to you before they even can attempt to take your bank account, paycheck, or any of your assets. They have to send that letter out to you first. Don't do nothing for 30 days. And if you do ask for a hearing, which you should exercise your right to ask for a hearing, then during that hearing, you may be able to challenge the tax. In your case, I don't think you can. But in your case, you may be able to challenge the penalties and interest. Okay? And at least in that case, maybe come up with a payment plan or have some time to save up and pay them off, you know, if that's what you need to do. But you should exercise your rights at that time. But right now, the IRS is not coming after you at all. And there's a good chance, by the way, the IRS will not come after you at all, period. You know why? The IRS will not come after you and take anything of yours? Oh, because IRS, tell everybody, is falling apart from within.
I'm thinking it's because they're going away. Is that what you're thinking?
They are falling apart from within like the former communist Soviet Union. If you go to step 3 of our 7 steps to free yourself of the IRS, realize the IRS operates on deception and bluff. You go in there, okay, and you go scroll down to number 4, to point number 4. IRS cannot even keep up with filers like you who have confessed to owing the IRS money for 2021. You did that. This doesn't go away for some reason. Okay? And they cannot do that. So that's why they cut levies or taking people's bank account and paychecks by over 90%. From 3.7 million in 2011, number of levies they did or taking people's bank account and paychecks in 2021 down to about 300,000. And guess what? It has remained since 2021 about 300,000. That tells you right there at least over 80% of people that used to come out there are leaving alone. 89%. So they may leave you alone after 10 years from the time the tax was assessed or determined by you filing a change for income tax slavery confession form. The tax goes away. You file in 2021, let's say April 15, 2022. 10 years after that, April 15, 2012, poof, automatically it goes away, it's zeroed out. Okay? You can pay them off if you want, or wait for it to expire. It's up to you. Any other questions, Jay, before I go next caller?
I think I'm understanding you correctly, so I will do nothing about this. And I think the previous caller asked about an ROE, and I think if I heard you correctly, you said never do that.
Yep. The revocation of election is based on a false premise, a false assumption that you somehow elected to be a slave of the IRS forever, that now you need to revoke. But there's nothing there for you to revoke to begin with. Right? Every 1040 income tax confession form is a separate confession every year. It's a separate slave confession every year, completely separate from the other years. Once you owe for 21, got nothing but 22 or 20 or 24 or 18. Every year is a separate thing. Okay? So you find, don't do that nonsense. If you did, don't worry, ignore it and move on. All right, MJ?
Okay. Is there any meaning to the fact that these letters started coming closer together and more frequently?
Yes. That is indication IRS is desperate to scare you.
Okay.
Yeah. You know,
Okay.
they're still,
Okay.
you know what? At least we can just send a bunch of letters. The more we send them, the more some suckers going to think, oh, I keep getting letters from the IRS. Oh my gosh, they're really watching me. Oh, they're caught on to me. There's somebody at the IRS. Somebody watching me. What's that song by the IRS? By what's that? Michael Jackson? No, but it's somebody else's song. There's somebody. They always feel like somebody's watching me. You heard that song, guys? Who? The IRS? That's what they're trying to do. You're fine. All right, MJ.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Let's go to the 978 area code caller. Please give me your first name, how you heard about Freedom Law School, and then your question, please.
Hello, Payman. My name is Mark, and I heard about Freedom Law School through Christian Elliott. He's a friend of mine. He's a holistic health coach in Florida, and you did an interview with him in 2022 or 23, and I've been following your site ever since.
Very good. Very good, my friend.
And
How may I help you?
my question for you is, I've owned my own business now for 30 years, my wife and I, and so we finally had the courage. We spoke to Blake at the Freedom Law School, who's wonderful, by the way. He's been so helpful. You just have amazing people working with you, Payman, and that's such a compliment to you and your organization. So I want to thank you. Blake has always been friendly, kind, and full of knowledge, and he helped me pull the trigger. I've been studying now for 10 years, the Internal Revenue Code. I've been studying, I read many, many books, the Great IRS Hoax. So I had a lot of information coming in, and then when I found your work, you just solidified and gave me the confidence I needed just this year for the first year not to file the 1040. My question to you is about banks, because I have been, my wife and I have been banking at the same institution for over 25 years, and 3 months ago I cashed a check. My clients pay me directly, personal checks, and I cashed a check, and for the first time in 25 years, I got asked what I was going to do with the cash. And I said, none of your business, and it was overreach and harassment. Well, just about 2 weeks ago, now that I'm not having a business account, I'm putting all my money into one account, I got asked why I'm putting all my personal checks into my joint account, and why they're not going through my business account. I got called into my bank. My question to you is, by not filing, it seems that the banks are doing the dirty work for the IRS. What's going on? I feel like I'm being spied on, and I'm not being paranoid. Like I said, I've been banking at the same institution for 26 years, and now they're questioning me about cash, and they're questioning me about why my checks are not going into my business account. Have you run into anything like this before?
I know what you're talking about. It has nothing to do with the IRS whatsoever. The banks create money out of thin air by fraud, lend it out to the government, U.S. government.
Right. I understand fractional reserve banking.
This is all part of making Americans slaves and control you as slaves. They have banking regulations. Increasingly, they change them at their will that are way beyond what the law allows them to do. And the pressure of banks, it just call them know your customer laws.
Right. That's what they told me. Know your customer.
Is your customer a terrorist, sympathizer with a terrorist group? So they put pressure on the banks, and banks are worried about getting penalized by the bank regulators for not doing this stuff. And of course, the banks that are most worried about this are the smaller independent banks. They leave alone the big crooked banks who own the system. Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo. Those guys are above the law. They own the system. They will not come after those guys. But I imagine you have a little Poda bank, not huge.
That's exactly right. I'm in a smaller bank that's pretty much just in the state that I live in, and my wife and I are now switching to an online bank, which we're switching all our accounts to get away from this bank in their interrogation.
Right.
So I get paid. I have clients wire money into my accounts. What's going to make this new bank that we're going into, this online bank, not do the same thing?
I don't know exactly, but that's why I invite you to join our Restore Freedom Plan, because with the funds of you and everybody else like you who has the same concern, I'll plan to file a lawsuit that challenges all of this. Anti-privacy, know your customer baloney they got. $10,000 in and out of your bank account, forms go to the IRS. $3,000 or more money order, forms go to government. Forms go to government, okay? How come you don't live in the area where you bank? No, you live too far away, over an hour away from the bank. Why do you want a bank so far away? All these questions they ask of you, because the federal government, as an agent of the international bankers in 1930s and forward, gradually stopped minting money. Gold was taken away in 1933, silver in 1964. And then the banks, their debt paper, the Federal Reserve notes, became practically money instead. So they delegated that power of money making to the banking system, the crooked banks. And then at the same time, on the behest of the big banks, they put all these slavery laws to control you, watch you, everything else they're doing now. They doing it, the same people are doing it. So it needs to be challenged. Congress cannot at the same time refuse to coin money, give it to another private group of bad people called the bankers, and then force you into the banker system. And then when you do over $10,000 of cash in and out, $3,000 a money order, or whatever you want to do, they want to debank you. Why are you doing this, that, all the anti-privacy stuff? It's not their business. Okay? But it's going to be the proper lawsuit. And that's going to take money. That takes people like you who put the money where the mouth is, say, I am going to stand up. I'm going to be part of the solution. Do something about it. If it's to be, it's up to me. And if not,
so what do I do with the bank? What do I do with the bank? Do I keep going to different banks, or
no? Wait. They haven't closed your account. No, hold on. You sit down with a banker and say, look, stop asking me questions. I've been with you 25 years. You're not my owner, okay? I've been for 25 years. I'm doing things illegal. All they're worried about the regulator. You could not do anything about that. Sorry. I'm not a magician. I have no answer to control the feelings, the fears of your banker. Sorry. All I can tell you is, give them the middle finger if you want.
So you're saying I probably shouldn't even have left my original bank, just told them to mind their own business and just keep banking with them?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
And what you should have done is open several bank accounts. So they close one, you got the other one. Couple local here, couple online. So if they bank you here, you got the other one. You got to be smart. Okay, you got to think ahead like a good chess player. Okay? Now, I know life would be nice and simple. Okay? But, so that's all. There's no other solution on that. Sorry, that's all you can do. And you can, if you join a Restore Freedom Plan, my friend, and we protect you from the IRS, and some of your funds will go toward doing this kind of a lawsuit against this whole corrupt system that needs to be done, but no one's going to do it except us, except you and me and other freedom lovers like you, Mark.
So what you're saying, Payman, just lastly, and I'll let you go, is I should join your group, and we should sue the banks, and I should just keep banking with who I'm banking with.
I didn't say you should sue the bank.
Tell them when they ask me.
I didn't say that.
To mind their own business.
No, I didn't say that. To do a lawsuit like this, it's got to be properly structured and set up. Because also you want to buy gold or silver or precious metals over $10,000, they won't do the same thing. Okay? So, and then you allow the transaction. So the whole system needs to be set up in a proper lawsuit. You cannot do a lawsuit because you don't have the knowledge or the money to pay a lawyer, do you? No. You don't know how to do it.
No.
You don't have the money or the lawyer to do it. But if you and people like you, Mark, get together, all put in money into a fund like our Restore Freedom Plan that will protect you from the IRS. We take some of that money to do these kind of lawsuits that needs to be done because it takes a lot of money to do this stuff and a lot of technical knowledge. I'm involved with those research myself. I head up these things. And I got to tell attorneys what to do because they don't know. They're not taught this stuff in law school. Okay?
So the banks don't go to the IRS, though.
No.
The banks don't go to the IRS with this information.
It's all banking regulation. It has nothing to do with the DMV or marriage laws or the IRS or the Forest Service.
Okay, I see. So when I move my funds to another bank, and if that bank asks me anything, I can just tell them to mind their own business, whether what's going into my account.
Yeah. What does it matter? I'm not giving my privacy. You know my mommy, daddy. I've been banking. I'm a man in my, obviously you're older, in your 50s or 60s or older. What also this question all about? I'm just for a bank. Okay, I have a bank. I'm going to get another bank account. In fact, that's what don't have to answer them. They ask you about what are you going to check. Say, I don't know. At this time, I just want to cash it right now. I'll figure out later on what I'm going to do with it. What else would I do? Invest it, save it, spend it. What else would you do with the money? Come on.
Well, they're asking me why I'm not putting my checks in my business account. Why am I putting personal checks in my joint account? I mean, you talk about overreach payment.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Tell them, why does it matter?
I see. Well, you were very helpful, Payman. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my friend. Just, you got to stand for your rights and speak up. Babe, what does it matter? You know what? Yeah, people. I know people that go to banks that ask them, "You're taking a bunch of money out. What are you going to do with it?" Spend it, probably. What else would I do with it? What would you do with money?
Well,
why do you even ask?
The last time they asked me, I said, heroin and hookers because I was so mad because I couldn't believe that they had the audacity to ask me. So I gave them a sly remark.
Yeah, heroin and hookers. What do you think? What do I do with it? Yeah. Look, the clerks are just told to do what they got to do. Okay? Yeah. So recognize that too, by the way, okay? That the clerk is not the clerk's fault, the bank clerk. It's that very top echelon of the bank. The lawyer of the bank is afraid the bank's going to get penalized by the banking regulators. So he's telling the clerks, hey, you be nosy. So. And it's
right. Okay.
I don't want to tell you. I don't have to tell you. Well, it's none of your business. None of your business anymore.
I've been wanting to move from this bank for a while anyway because, like I said, we raised our family there. My daughters have an account there. We have 7 accounts, our mortgage there, and we're just going to get out of that bank and start new. And we'll see what happens. But I just want to let you know I really appreciate your time and think you're doing a great job, and you're creating so much joy for people to know there's a way out of this corrupt system. And I just want to thank you from my heart.
You're welcome. Let me ask, do you have any employees?
No, actually, I've had my own independent business for 30 years as a holistic health coach, and my clients pay me directly, and I've been signing those concessions for the last 20-odd years, and then I learned even well before finding you that, the whole trick was not to sign those 1040s. My wife wasn't with me on that decision because she had fear like everyone else, and I knew that if I ever got audited, I'd get into a lot of trouble because I signed that confession form under perjury. So finally, after hearing you and your great work and talking to Blake at the Freedom Law School, she heard Blake and she spoke with Blake, and she finally said, okay, let's do this. And we did it in April. We did file for 2025, and I'm so grateful for that.
You mean they're not filing?
I guess I got.
You mean you're not filing?
Yeah, we did not file.
Oh, yeah.
We did not file.
Yeah.
You know, we sent all the paperwork to our CPA, who was a high school friend, and then I just called up and said, hey, I'm not filing. And he said, you're going to go to prison. And I was like, okay, all right, great.
But here's what you do. You give them our brochure. Say, look, send me please help me collect $50,000 cash reward that Freedom Law School has. They show you in this brochure, again, Restore Freedom brochure, that no law requires 99% of Americans to file income taxes. Text it to them, email it to them, say, please, do me a favor. Don't collect the cash by yourself. Split the $50,000 with me. Because I told you about it. You know the law. Okay? So please, don't bypass me. Okay? Let's put the $50,000 together. Fair enough? Fair deal? Okay?
Yeah, fair enough. No question.
Yeah.
Hey, while I have you on the phone, I know you're busy. You got other callers. I don't want to monopolize your time, but just one quick question. Can the IRS come after you for previous years that you filed? I've always wondered that.
Of course
Can they come after you for even though they never came after me at all? I'm just wondering, can they?
Can you die in a car accident tomorrow? Can a roof fall on your head tomorrow?
Sure.
Yeah, okay then. The wrong question is not can something happen. Can you die of a lightning bolt tomorrow? Sure you can. But how likely is it?
I see what you're saying. Will it happen?
The question is how likely something happen. Don't ask can something. You got to ask how likely. This is the very most common thing people do. They don't say how likely is it for something to happen. They say can it happen? Yep. The roof could fall on your head. Tomorrow you might die in a car accident. It can happen. But you get in the car every day because it's not very likely. All right?
I see. Okay.
By the way,
Damon.
holistic health coach, my friend. I love you guys because you're doing the natural health. I believe in natural health, not the chemicalized pharmaceutical drug poison vaccine.
Oh, that's poison. That's poison.
Yeah.
We really focus on.
Yeah.
We really focus on holistic. You know, eating healthy, exercise, taking care of your emotional and mental health.
Exactly. And I'm going to get some sleep tonight because I've been working a lot the last 2 days. So I'm going to try to get out of here early, guys.
You get some sleep. Thank you, Payman. I appreciate
welcome.
it.
Yeah, sleep is very important. Sleep is very important for your good health. No question about it. And good nutrition, exercise, all that you said. Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a Lebanese American, so, you know, I say hello to my fellow Middle Eastern brother. I know you're from Iran, so
yes.
Sleep well, my friend.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for calling, my friend, and call Blake back, and you guys have a good time. Continue the conversation. All right, I'm glad. And tell your clients about us and call us. Our Restore Freedom brochures.
What's funny is I have very wealthy clients who pay a bundle in taxes, and when I tell them about this, they actually get angry at me, and one of them even threatened to fire me. Because I think they're so embarrassed that they have family offices and they're paying millions of dollars a year in taxes, and they just don't want to be proven they're wrong.
So here's what you do. Hold on. I know what you're saying. Look, here's a mark solution is to say, look, I'm not being blessed to be as rich as you financially, so I really could use your help. Yes, I need to collect this $50,000 from this guy who says no law requires 99% of Americans to file income tax. He has it all here in his brochure in just less than under 10 pages. It's all right here. So would you please, I need to find this thing. I want to collect this $50,000. Would you please do that? So you approach him that way.
Huh.
And you're richer than me, obviously, you're smarter than me. Stroke the ego. Okay? You're smarter than me because you're richer.
Right.
But would you help me collect this? So approach it that way. It's a lot easier than to just tell them about this, you know. And on rich people usually, let's face it, a lot of them are greedy, money-oriented. That's why they became rich, one reason, amongst others, you know. So money gets their attention.
Yeah.
Talk the language, okay? And let's talk.
Okay.
Because you're going to make a lot of referrals, and if some of those big guys, you know, you pay 50% of the Restore Freedom Plan membership for anybody that you tell us that joins, wants to become a member yourself. So if this guy normally pays the IRS $1 million, his membership would be $300,000. He keeps the other 70%, $700,000 for himself and his family. And out of that 300,000 is membership, half of that, 150,000 will be yours, for example. So, yeah, you didn't know about
Well, thank you, Payman. I will definitely, I've given your website to at least 2 or 3 clients. I've given it to a bunch of friends, people who are open to it. It's just, and I'm hopeful that they will call. It's just the fear is just so palpable. I had it for so many years. You got to give them credit. They've done a wonderful job at scaring the shit out of Americans with all this false information.
Same thing with vaccines. Same thing with vaccines. For decades, if you don't get vaccines, you might have rubella, this, that, the other,
scam of all time.
Yeah, it's
COVID.
the same thing.
I mean, COVID, it was created in a boardroom. There was never even such
Mark,
thing.
you got to tell your clients that you got to, with your clients, show them the cartoon of step 2. Folks, before I get to step 1, sometimes when I talk to people about this stuff, I go to step 2. I got to show them that signing a 1040 confession form, that is dangerous. You do it to yourself. You put the rope around your own neck when you sign a 1040 form. That is why you are so scared of the IRS. So if you don't file, you don't put the rope around your neck. And you show them this, you go to step 2, you show that when you sign and file the 1040 income tax slave confession and trap form, we got to fix this language, but remind me, okay? You state under oath that you owe the IRS money, okay? And you show them in step 2, hey, what is this saying under penalty of perjury that in small print? Did your CPA tell you what that means? You got to... So go over the step 2, tell them that is how they got you scared because they deceived you to the very you file a 1040 income or any other tax form. We probably should underline or make red the word each, right? Each year. Okay?
All right, Payman. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for calling, Mark. All right, let's see what we got here. My thing... we're going to go 808 area code caller. Let's see. By the way, Joe's on the call. If anybody has a question of Joe Banister, please, after you announce yourself, let me know you have a question of Joe or me as well, so that Joe can answer your question or me as well. So we have 2 callers right now waiting. Right now, 808 area code caller and a 304 area code caller. The screen went locked again for some reason, it seems like. So anyhow, 808-30, and then we have a 606 area code caller, but the 304 area code caller left. So 808 area code caller, and then a 606 area code caller. All right? 808 area code caller, you're live. Give me your first name, how you heard about us, and then your question, please.
Hello.
Yes?
Okay, so my name is Calais, and I'm from Hawaii Island. And I heard, my name is Calais, and I'm from Hawaii Island. And I heard about you through an interview, I think, that you did. It could have been Stu Peters. It could have been Redacted. It's either or. I watched those shows.
Okay.
So can you hear me? Okay, I just want to be sure you can hear me.
Yes,
so
I hear you just fine. How may I help you?
Well, I have the questions that I have. Probably should start with the question: why is the federal income tax unlawful? Although I've heard people already go over that. So let's put that on the side, and I wanted to examine. My questions are: do the 50 states have laws to pay income tax? That's number one. Number two: can the 50 states make laws to pay income tax? Okay, so those are the 2 questions that I believe is related to why is the federal income tax unlawful.
One at a time.
But I wanted to examine.
Hold on. First thing, hold on.
State.
You asked 3 questions, not 2, 3. Let me get to the first one. Income tax is not unlawful. Okay. Income tax is completely lawful and constitutional where it belongs. On citizens and residents of the District of Columbia under worldwide income.
Correct.
On federal workers who work in D.C., and anybody who has real estate or business in Washington, D.C. So that's a step 1. Follow the law. You watch a 10-minute video right here that shows it to you, and there's more step 1 about this, okay? So that's 1. It is lawful. Mm-hmm. You were just suckered deceived, tricked into following the 1040 income tax slavery form by using the word U.S. individual when the word U.S. in tax law as defined here in the Internal Revenue Code means not the 50 states, it means the District of Columbia. Okay, so that's all. So you can stop filling out those 1040 District of Columbia income tax slavery confession forms. Okay? Now, as far as the states, yes, states can, let's put the state thing up for me, states can impose an income tax on the people because the federal Constitution limits federal government's taxing powers, not the states. So on our website, freedomlawschool.org, we have this chart, okay? State income tax map. The ones that are green, they do not have any state income tax, okay? Yep. So I suggest moving to one other state, no state income tax states, like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, okay? I encourage everybody. Mm-hmm. And so, but of the states, okay, where's all of them? I need to see all of them. However, only 4 of them have chosen to have a state income tax independent of the federal tax law systems, definitions or forms. That's Pennsylvania, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. Other than that, the other states follow the federal. What state? You live in Hawaii? Hawaii does follow the federal tax law forms and definitions. So if you don't have to file income tax, state income tax in Hawaii either.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions about states?
No, like you said, if it's on your website, I'm going to go check that out. But of course, I'm more concerned about Hawaii. I am concerned about that, and I also I studied the IRS from 1993, so I actually have a lot of knowledge about it. But I've laid off of it for some years. So I decided when I saw you and heard you, I thought, even though you're getting older, I think it's a good project, and I think it's a good organization to be affiliated with, because your organization is, Freedom Law School, freedom, the word freedom, but really I think, telling the truth, because I'm a Christian, so I'm totally into telling the truth, and I cannot see a government, the United States government specifically, lying to their people. That's pretty harsh. And so I think, the United States that's made up of a lot of Christians was supposed to have been a Christian country.
Yes.
But yet there's so much lying going on.
That's
it's
right.
Unbelievable. So
it's an amoral government now.
Why
we funded with your tax dollars genocide of a bunch of people in Gaza, okay, for the benefit of a foreign country. Our government, the people at the top, the politicians, the people that Trump and the Congress and Biden, Obama, Bush, none of these guys care about morality and human life whatsoever.
Yeah.
We got to defund them.
It's sad as a Christian.
Yeah. They're not Christian. If they say they are, but they pretend to be, they're not. Okay? So
they're liars.
They don't believe in God at all.
Yeah.
If they believe in God, forget about being Christian. Just believe in God, okay? They wouldn't be committing all these murders and criminality and funding it, Yeah. I agree with you.
Exactly. So I wanted to put that question out. I'm interested in, following your show, on Tuesdays to listen to more questions, but to get back into these kinds of things, because I learned it a long time ago, so I know what you're talking about. I totally understand. And I started in 1993. I believe that's the same year you started. And I followed a lot of people, including Joe Banister. I have the information that he produced, and I'm a pack rat. And I keep a lot of those things from the 1990s. I still have it to today. I followed Lynn Meredith, Schiff. There was a guy named Schiff, and he went to jail. Many. I know of Sherry Jackson, but she came on way later, because in the 1990s, the early 1990s, you had other people like Joe Banister and and there were other organizations. I don't know if there are other organizations continuing the things that you are doing. Payment. I'm not sure if they still exist.
There's no other organizations. I mean, there's somebody does, I don't know who does revocation of election, which is wrong. Okay. Pete Henderson does this 4852 forms to get their money back from the IRS. They do get the money back sometime, but a lot of times they get penalized instead. Dave Champion has a book that he refuses to update or talk to me to work together. Pete Henderson doesn't help his people, unfortunately. So Freedom Law School has become by far the largest and the main organization doing all this stuff because the only guy since World War II whose leader, IRS, does not be able to put out of business, talking about the IRS, get an injunction against me, or put me in jail, or quit. I've done this for well over 30 years. So, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. I wish there was more people. I want more people to work with me. That's why I'm asking you. How come you're not telling more people about the IRS, Callie?
What's the question again? Sorry?
How come you're not telling more people about the IRS?
I do. I do.
Did you call us? Did you get our brochure? Did you call, get our Restore Freedom brochure or Fast Track Your Success brochure? Have them mail them to you? You pass them to your friends, okay, customers, associates, anybody you know? Have you done that? Have you gone in front of the supermarkets, pass them out to people?
I have been, yes.
Okay.
I have been doing that quite a bit.
Great.
We're sharing a lot of stuff here in Hawaii, and we don't have a lot of. Total population in Hawaii is 1.5 million people.
Right.
The whole state.
Right.
The entire state.
Right.
And so I met someone that is affiliated with you, but she didn't tell me about you. I found you from an interview. You were on Redacted, and I believe Stu Peters. There are others.
Right.
And so I just thought, great that someone is keeping it up. Because I don't know the whole organizations if they continued. I was going to research that.
Right.
But, I looked at your organization. It seems to be like the website and what's going on. It's great. It's really great. And it was nice to see Joel Banister when you were talking to him. So if he's there, hi, aloha. I followed you. There are a lot of people.
Thank you.
The names are not coming to me, but I got them. Dan Median,
Callie, call us. Call us. We'll give you the brochures because I got to get to other people's questions. But thank you for being in the fight. Join our Restore Freedom Plan. As a veteran of the fight, join the Restore Freedom Plan so you have the funding to do the freedom lawsuits, to protect you in freedom lawsuits and elect people in office like Ron Paul and Thomas Massey. Okay? Right now, for example, thank God that warmonger-in-chief homosexual, closet Lindsey Graham took off.
Yeah,
went down to hell.
Yes.
So someone else is going to be in this place, and hopefully Mark Lynch, okay, who is a good patriot. I know him personally. I met him. He's running to get that seat of the U.S. Senate, and so contribute to Mark Lynch for U.S. Senate campaign. Okay, as much as you can. There's an election August 11th, another primary because Lindsey Graham died. So please support him. And so the money you don't pay income tax, put some of it toward getting Mark Lynch, the U.S. Senator who's a patriot like us. Do that. Yeah. And that's what we need to do. Yeah. Stop paying this criminal cabal, the Epstein gang that owns our government, okay, and blackmails Trump and congressmen out there. That's what it's about in large part. Okay?
Yeah.
And fun getting good people in office and good freedom lawsuits that we need to get done. Like we had a little bit earlier, Mark was talking about that. We got to do this lawsuit against the banking system in control of our American people. All right?
Yeah.
Thank you for calling. I appreciate you. We have another caller. You're welcome. 606 area code caller. Well, let's see. If anybody has any questions right now, here's your chance to call in. Call 424-552-1299 and press 1 on your telephone keypad. Call 424-552-1299 and press 1 on your telephone keypad. Let's go right now to the 606 area code caller. Give me your first name, how you heard about Freedom Law School, and then your question, please.
Hello there. Thank you so much for taking my call. My name is Rebecca. I first heard about you from Dr. Lee Merritt. Since then, I've seen some interviews, Stu Peters and different Instagram accounts and other social media platforms. My question is, I am a federal employee, and we are required just the last couple of days to start new background checks and suitability testing. Today, on one of the questions, it asked if I had failed to file federal income tax. I have not filed an income tax in 3 years because of you and because of your work. So if I answer no to that question, then I'm under perjury. If I answer yes, I have to explain why. Do you have any advice? And
explain. You say no, explain why, because no law requires me to do so. I've read the law from the U.S. government's official legal websites and wrote to my 3 congressmen, my House member and my 2 U.S. senators, my legal authorities which I rely upon, and asked them humbly to correct me if I'm wrong. And none of them have corrected me that none of them has said I have to file income tax, so I haven't. And here they're attached. If you can show me I'm wrong, these petitions are wrong, the legal authorities of my petitions are wrong, I'll file income tax returns. Okay? Those petitions are powerful, folks. It's for free for all of you, okay? For this reason. It's for a reason it's there because, they really protect you. You know you're doing the right thing by questioning authority, questioning your public servants out there. They work for you. That's the way it is supposed to be. You don't work for them. Government is a slave agent of you. You are the boss. Think like the boss. Act like the boss. Okay? So, that's why I go there. The petitions you see on our website, there's one about the individual income taxes, another one about employment taxes, the other one is about self-employment taxes and 1099 forms. Okay? So, have you done the petitions already? Rebecca, have you done them?
I'm sorry. Have I done the petitions? No. I just got on your website tonight and started looking at the petitions, but I'm printing them now.
Very good. Anything else I can help you with?
So, well, just to clarify, even though I'm a federal employee, I'm not required to file those taxes, correct?
Do you work in the District of Columbia?
No. No, I'm in Kentucky.
You don't have to pay income tax. If you worked in D.C., you would have to file income tax, but you don't. Okay?
One other question. Do they have grounds to fire me because I've not filed taxes?
Nope. I don't think so. There's no grounds for it. They might do it, but it doesn't mean they have grounds for it.
Okay. Yeah.
Federal workers are hard to fire. You know that. Federal, let me tell you, remind you. You know that. What agency do you work for, by the way?
Social Security Administration.
Oh, my gosh. Look, you've seen a lot of waste, corruption, and laziness in Tell them to our audience. Tell them about the waste, corruption, and laziness you see in incompetence in Social Security. Tell a little bit about our callers, because they don't know. Go ahead. Tell them. Take a minute.
Well, there is just a lot of waste. We're paying people that are not here doing the right things. We're paying a lot of children, the birthright citizens. They come in, they claim disability, get a check for the rest of their lives. It is a lot of waste, and it's, without getting too deep in the system, it's time for an overhaul. It needs to be done, and it seems like those individuals who have worked and are disabled have the most difficult time getting any benefits. But yeah.
So anyhow, so the firing a federal worker, it takes almost an act of God, because President Kennedy made a deal with the federal union workers to get the support that they literally have to give you a full blown, like a trial. They can fire a government employee. They have the right to challenge it in a hearing and appeal that to the federal courts. It's like, what? Just to fire a government agent, yeah, you have to do all that stuff. So you won't get fired. Okay?
Okay.
Because they're just.
Well, I'm with probably a year from retirement, so.
Yeah. Very good, Rebecca.
Okay.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. My
I
pleasure.
feel honored to have spoken with you. Take care.
My pleasure to speak with you as well.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go with the call. I think it's a call for Jill, right? This one. Next, it says authenticated by caller ID Jill, right? No, that's Jill. Okay, we have no more calls right now. Let's see. Folks, any calls you have online, guys, on Rumble or platforms out there? Any questions? No? Last chance. If you have a question, folks, from Joe Banister, former gun-carrying special agent with the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS turned whistleblower. Okay, exposing the IRS. If you have any questions from him or from me, this is your last chance. The number to call if you have a question is 424-552-1299, and then press 1 on the telephone keypad. Again, if you have a question, call 424-552-1299 and press 1 on the telephone keypad to be connected, and I will take your call. So I just want to say this, everybody. I've been at this for over 30 years. You know, I started in the Libertarian Party back in '89. I was 26. I started in this tax freedom movement, truth movement, and I was 29 back in 1992. Started Freedom Law School in 1996. And I have not seen so many people wake up and realize how corrupt the federal government has become. How did it work for you? Right now, we're in a war, okay, on behalf of a tiny country, over 10 million people called Israel, and doing genocide all those people out there. Why? Why do you have to be involved with that? If these people in part of the world or that part, they want to kill each other, that's between them. Why would us be involved in that any more than Mexico or Botswana or Algeria be involved in some other people fighting with each other? Right? Why are you paying income tax for these fights? Right? So it's time to defund all this, okay? And people are waking up realizing that they don't have to. You don't have to pay for all the criminality and corruption. You can just say, no, inflation is higher than as wages and incomes are not going up as high. You're hurting, I know, because inflation is higher than your wages going up or income, business income. So stop paying income tax you never legally owed. Ask freedomlawschool.org. It's all there. Any questions? Call us during the daytime, 813-444-4800. Somebody will answer your question, try to help you, guide you to our website if you want. Okay, freedomlawschool.org, 813-444-4800. We have a caller, two callers that just joined us. Let's see, from area code 330, and another call from area code 770. All right, 330 caller. By the way, tell us not just your name, how you heard about us, but you have a question on me or Joe Bannister, let us know. So if it's Joe Bannister, he'll answer. If it's me, I'll answer your question. Go ahead and announce yourself now from area code 330.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ray. I heard about you through Red Pill Expo and G. Edward Griffin. And here's what I would like to know. And either one of you, I would like to weigh in on this. I would like to know if the IRS comes after people's estates after they die. I will be the executor for my mother, and she's in hospice right now, so it's kind of a critical question. Is something strange going to happen after she dies? And what do I have to, what should I expect?
All right.
With taxes, that is, with her taxes.
How big is your mother's estate?
Neither one of
How big is your mother's estate, roughly?
Several years.
How big is your mother's estate about? 2 million, 50 million, 50,000, how much? Give me a rough idea.
Oh, Mom, I think it's about 2 million.
Okay. All right.
Total. But it goes directly, it's set up to go to transfer on death directly to her heirs.
Fine. Yeah, I got you. Look, if you were Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley, probably. Because there's so few people that make a lot of money like that. They want to know, hey, Michael Jackson, somebody rich, who had a huge estate of over $100 million. They might go after something like that. But regular people, the answer is a big no, they don't. Okay? What the problem is, they got you believing the IRS is big Wizard of Oz. Okay? That will eat you alive if you don't follow that 10 for income tax confession form. Look, there's no law requiring to file and pay personal income tax to the federal government, or estate tax, or payroll taxes, or corporate taxes. So, no, IRS has
no estate tax
IRS has, listen,
I live. I know that.
Listen, IRS has no program or methodology to come after estates or corporations who don't pay tax. They don't. They just want you to believe that they'll get you. It's all a myth. They are a myth. There's 80 million non-filers already, according to IRS's own best estimates. You've just been programmed to believe IRS is God. They'll strike you dead. Whoa. You don't file income tax. Okay, it's all untrue. Okay? All you got to do is get yourself on our website.
That is great. I love to laugh. I was just worried that something different would happen when she passes away and there's a death certificate and there's other official records of that. And I was worried that something else would kick in and they might start harassing me about it.
Nope. Nothing's going to happen. You're just going to be not making yourself poor unnecessarily.
All right then.
Okay.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much.
By the way, I did a video on estate tax.
Wonderful. You are a blessing to us all.
You're welcome,
Thank
Ray.
you.
Listen, Ray, I did a video on estate tax. How you don't have to pay estate tax either, just recently. Okay, because people call me on that. But your estate is too small anyhow. Your mom's estate is too small. Either way. Well, yeah, you're free. Just go to freedomlawsuit.org.
Okay, and it gets divided up between people, and it's already set
you
to
don't know.
It's not even going to probate or anything. It's automatically getting distributed.
Right. Yeah, gotta be. Or even if you're a DC citizen, you have to have over $15 million estate per person to owe a tax on that.
Oh,
so you're just fine.
Good grief.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. No, she's in no danger of that, neither, or neither am I. I mean, she'd be gone. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you ever so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. All right, we're going to go to 770 area code caller. Tell me if how you heard about us and your first name, and if you have a question of Joe or me. Go ahead, sir, or ma'am.
Hey, this is Ben. And I found out about you guys through Red Bull University and Clayton Morris on YouTube.
Very good. You have a question of me or Joe Banister?
For you.
Okay.
I was just wondering in terms of not paying taxes. If I'm not going to be paying taxes, but how does that work for paying taxes and within the state where I live? For instance, I live in Georgia. If I'm not paying federal income tax, do I still have to pay taxes in Georgia? Or how exactly does that work?
You need to go to our website. This is under one of our most frequently asked questions, okay? Go under our freedomlawsuit.org under educational. The educational, just below the FAQ, frequently asked questions, is state income taxes. Click on that. There's a map here that shows which states have a federal income tax and which ones don't, which ones piggyback their state tax on top of the federal, which ones don't. What state do you live in?
In Georgia.
In Georgia. Georgia's right down here. Yep. Georgia does piggyback on the federal tax form. Okay, so if you don't owe the federal income tax, you don't owe Georgia tax either.
Okay. Yeah, I did not know that.
All right. Are you good, Ben? That's it? That's all you need to know?
I have another question. I just don't want to take up your time.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're the last one, looks like. Yes.
Okay. Let's say I'm interested in buying a company with a partner. and I'm not going to be paying taxes. I'm planning on not paying taxes, and he is. If we, how would that work through an LLC? I'm guessing we'll both have to not be paying taxes for all. I guess if we're both going to be under the LLC, how would that work?
Buying a business is not a taxable event anyhow. Buying a chair or home or camera or television is not a taxable event anyhow. So just buy it. Do what you want.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that'll be it.
All right. Very good. Thank you for calling, everybody. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate each one of you taking the time to free yourself. Know this. It was no accident that Joe Banister and I met back in 1997 and got on this crusade to have America be free. And it was not an accident that for you came across Freedom Law School and Joe Banister in your quest to find truth and freedom and prosperity that you rightfully deserve. So continue your journey by going to freedomlawschool.org, our website, okay? And start with the very first step, okay? Go there, take the 7 easy steps to regain your power and freedom, okay? Follow the laws, number 1. Go through that, okay? Step 2, stop filing tax forms. Step 3, realize the IRS operates on deception and bluff. Step 4, question authority. It's all for free. All for free. Step 5, take courage from our victories. All this free. Optional. Join the Restore Freedom Plan to restore freedom and take part in the restoring freedom for yourself and your family with a guarantee. Okay? And step 7, love and spread the truth. Tell everybody about it. Okay? So you were meant to be free. So go be free now at freedomlawschool.org. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. How many cards do we have?
The guy who films himself taking down flock cameras and posts it anonymously, of course.